Good afternoon. I'm Elizabeth Outland Branner, Assistant Dean for Law School Advancement. I have the privilege to welcome you to our first virtual Law Alumni Association meeting. I am pleased to call this meeting to order. I'm happy that you could be here today to hear an update on the law school, to learn about our alumni awards, and to hear about our success in our reunion fundraising. Many of these items would have been covered during the 2020 Law Alumni Weekend, which we had to postpone in April. We appreciate the opportunity to bring these to you today. First, we will hear from Dean Brant Hellwig. Brant?
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. As a traditional part of our Alumni Weekend, on Saturday morning, I provide an update to those of our die-hard alumni who are willing to get up somewhat early on Saturday and make their way into the moot court room where we're obviously presenting from. Today, I don't have the benefit of looking out to see hopefully a lot of nodding faces, maybe some questionable looks, but I'm going to do my best to run through that same type of update. And there's a couple things I wanted to discuss. Just give you a little bit of background on how we managed to finish off the semester. It was an unprecedented one, a surreal one at times. I guess if I'm thinking back, it was the middle of March, maybe the third week in March, Friday afternoon, when after lots of meetings to debate the path forward, President Dudley, on behalf of the university, made the announcement that we needed to cancel in-person classes, move our educational program to a completely virtual format in order to protect the health and safety of our students and our university community. That announcement went out. It was still a lot for everyone to grapple with at the time. I imagine you can, it seems like a no-brainer now, but when all of this was going on, it really, at times was difficult to get your head around. So that was that announcement took a while for everything to sink in. We did have 2 weeks for the law school faculty and really the whole university faculty to essentially pivot on a dime from our traditional in-person, oftentimes lecture format. In the clinics, we'd have face-to-face meetings with clients in our seminars, small group discussions. We had to, for the most part, put all of that on hold, shift to virtual instruction, and figure out a way to do that in fairly short order. I feel that we did as good of a job as possible with that transition here at the law school. I mean, a number of us were used to having our lectures recorded so that students who couldn't make it into class could view that remotely. So a lot of us were used to speaking in front of a camera, even if we didn't see it, having those classes recorded. So that gave us a baseline. But for many of us, we had to get familiar fairly quickly with the new live meeting technology, Zoom being probably the main format through which we conducted classes. And we had to figure out a way to do that, to kind of keep our stride in the course of the semester, to keep students engaged. Sometimes that was more difficult than, that proved to be a challenge at times, but for the most part, I'm really pleased with how the entire law school community adapted to that unexpected scenario. From my own class, at times it does feel weird to lecture in an empty room, but I did have the benefit of at least seeing my students' faces on that Zoom board. Makes you feel like you're a throwback in time to Hollywood Squares, right, with everybody's face. And we were able to, conduct the lectures, ask questions. I'd ask the students questions. Students would pose questions to me, and we did the best we could. And I'm not going to say it was great. If down the road, if we need to continue in any form of distance education, I and others on the law school faculty are going to try to do our best to invest in that pedagogy over the course of the summer. But I really feel like we did as good of a job as we could on very short notice this semester. And maybe the way to capture it is it really didn't turn out to be as terrible as everyone thought, right? I think that's a frank way of assessing it. We did that. That was the last 4 weeks of the semester. That we then moved into our exam period, where exams were conducted remotely. And the main prize to all of that, I think, and the really uplifting aspect of our semester was the virtual degree conferral ceremony that we were able to conduct and air on what would have been the day of 3L, the class of 2020's commencement date. That's going to be deferred until the spring of next year, but we did have the degree conferral ceremony. None of us really knew how that was going to go, but from my perspective, and actually the perspective of so many students that I've heard from, it was an opportunity to get together, to connect, even in that format. It made a difference. It was uplifting. And that format actually provided us an opportunity to include material that we normally never get in a traditional commencement. We had video statements not only from student leaders, we had video statements from members of the faculty and staff. That added a lot to our traditional ceremony. And maybe the coolest thing about it was we had this photo montage from our graduating students at the end. It was hard. One could not watch that and not come away feeling inspired and just positive. So that, in many ways, of all our struggles that we had to navigate in the course of the semester that just concluded, that was a real treat and a real highlight. So that was nice to end on a really positive note. Just some operational updates that I wanted to highlight for you. I think everyone knows that a significant focus of our time and energy at the law school over the past couple of years has been doing everything that we can to put our students in a position to realize favorable employment outcomes, both during their summers here and post-graduation. Though our statistics for our graduating classes have really improved every year over the past 5 years, important measuring points are the percentage of your class that is employed in a full-time long-term position for which a bar license is required or for which a JD degree provides an advantage. That's the kind of the gold standard category that we're looking for. We measure that at graduation, and even actually the more significant measuring date is 10 months after graduation. For the class of 2019, we recently booked that 10-month figure, and we had a phenomenal result. This is the first year that we were able to break 90%, and our ending figure was 92.7% of that class had secured those gold standard positions. I can remember just a couple years ago, and this, of course, this is coming out of the depths of the employment market. It was a huge deal for our school to break 80%, and that's honestly when I can remember. I still remember that day now, 3 years ago, when we were able to report that we broke the 80% barrier, and just 2 more years down the line to be above 90%. as a testament to many things that are going well at the law school. Of course, we've got really talented, dedicated staff in the Office of Career Strategy. We've got alumni who go to bat for our students. We've got faculty and staff who go out of their traditional roles to do everything that they can to advocate on behalf of our students. That's really the benefit of seeing a small community come together for all the right reasons. And that's a really gratifying result. I love that. That's a statistic that does factor into the rankings, and that's one that I really enjoy focusing on because that statistic matters. That has substance. It's not necessarily based on what any other academics think about our school. Those are significant statistics as well, but these statistics are real results for our students, and I feel like it's a signal that we are performing as a school for them. That feels fantastic. So that's something I wanted to highlight for all of you. And looking at the class of 2020 that just graduated, that figure at graduation is, if I have this right, 69.5%, just under 70%. And that's right in line with where we have been in some of our best years. There's a lot of work that's done after graduation as students sit for the bar examination, hopefully pass the bar examination, and then are able to interview for a different range of positions and accept those positions once they're offered. Of course, the employment market now is everything's going to be disrupted, and we enter this new landscape with some trepidation, but we're going to go back to what has served us well and doing everything that we can to provide individualized attention to our students, to draw on the connections and the support that we receive from our alumni and do what we can to deliver for them. So great news on the employment front. On the admissions landscape, that's another thing, just when heading into this new this new school year and navigating the admission cycle, that for law schools in general, and it's kind of backloaded, right? A lot of the action doesn't occur until the spring semester. You still have the prospect of students taking, in a normal situation, the LSATs in March, April, maybe even June. All of that was disrupted. The LSAT, the standardized test that one needs to take to apply to law school, that wasn't even offered in March or April. And that body was had to figure out how do you move to a virtual testing arrangement. So there's a lot of disruption to our admission cycle, a lot of uncertainty about whether students would, in this environment, want to go to start their legal education right now. And so it was, it was a precarious landscape for us. We just recently passed our second deposit deadline, and the results actually are phenomenal. We are actually even a little bit ahead of where we were in terms of recruiting a highly credentialed, diverse student body to our school. We're actually ahead on the number of deposited students. We're right in line with the credentials that we've been looking for over the past couple of years as we've made progress in improving the academic profile of the class. And we've made significant strides in terms of recruiting a more diverse class to Lexington and to Lewis Hall. I couldn't be more thrilled with how all of that has worked out. I think our message about what we're proud of here at this school, what we do differently. Right now, I think the idea of attending law school in a rural location outside of a major metropolitan area, sometimes that is a downside for us. I actually always think it's an upside, but not everyone shares my view. But now I think more people do in this beautiful area in the Virginia mountains that's relatively rural, the bucolic area. I think feels a little bit more comfortable, safe now. So, I think we've got an outstanding class that will be joining us in August, and one based on our marketing that is really excited to be at this school, to be a part of what it is that we do here, the nature of the school that we're hoping to promote. Students who are looking to be an active part of a close-knit community. All of that looks like that's going to line up in just terrific fashion for us this fall. Regarding the fall, that is still very much a work in progress. Really, from the moment that the university determined that we needed to move to virtual education in the spring, planning began for what things were going to look like in the next academic year. And honestly, at that time, I don't think it was in anybody's consciousness that we would be anything other than back in full steam, back to normal, that this public health crisis would surely get resolved by then, right? That seems really naive now, but that was kind of the feeling. And now we're in the midst of continuing to do the planning at the university level on any number of logistical areas with the goal of putting us in a position to return to in-person education to the greatest extent possible while prioritizing the health and safety of every member of the Washington and Lee community, and and also keeping in mind the Lexington community as well. That is what everybody wants. That's what we're optimistically planning for. But we also realize that might be precluded. So that's kind of where things stand right now. There is a contingency planning task force that's been working for, I guess at this point, months. I'm a member of that contingency planning task force that's led by Steve McAllister, our vice president for finance. The goal is for us as a task force, to submit a report to President Dudley, summarizing a range of issues, and make recommendations, give that information to President Dudley, and for him to have the benefit of, over the course of summer, making an announcement about what our plans will be. But we've been having a number of discussions among the law school faculty. We're in a little bit better position to return to in-person education, mainly because we don't have the residential component to worry about our students. We don't have dormitory housing for our law students. Those students, as you know, find their apartments in Lexington. And that leaves us with the task of how do we deliver an in-person education in Lewis Hall. Speaking of that, just the plan that we're doing, if that is that possibility is realized, usually we have ceremonial events in the moot court room. This is going to be our main classroom because it's the largest space that we have in Lewis Hall. It's the space that will allow us students to spread out, and I and others need to get used to actually teaching in this classroom. As part of that program, or that approach for the fall semester, we will be working on making sure that any in-person course that we offer is also available in a virtual format, and if all goes well, at the same time in what they call a synchronous manner, so that students who may be ill or are taking precautions, maybe because they've traveled, that they will be able to participate, keep up with their coursework in the same way as if they were sitting in the classroom. And that's going to be a challenge. It's also, I think it's entirely doable, and it's actually kind of exciting. So in our discussions with student leaders, with members of the faculty, and with the staff, there's a couple of ways you could go about framing this. And I think it's important for us to frame our goals for the fall as, we want to get back, we want to reconvene in Lexington, in Lewis Hall, to the greatest extent possible. So what is it that we need to do to make that happen? How do we build that up? How do we, kind of have a common purpose? What sacrifices do we all need to make in order for that goal, that benefit, to be realized? That's the approach that we need to take. It can't be, the focus cannot be on, well, how is this different from the landscape that we inhabited last fall, right? There's any number of things that we're going to have to change. I can imagine that, the people in the building will be wearing masks. We're going to have lots of hand sanitizing stations. We're going to have to spread everyone out. We will have longer breaks between classes so that we don't have people bunched up in the halls. It's a lot of the things that are great about the fall in Lexington, we're not going to be able to have. That I'm saying that can't be the focus, and maybe I shouldn't even say that, because it is going to be different. But I think what's exciting, though, is the prospect of doing what we need to do to get people back in not in close contact, but in connection with one another, because I think that is what everybody is craving at this point. The isolation that's resulted from our approach to mitigating the spread of the virus, it makes perfect sense, but it takes an emotional toll as well. And I'm certainly excited about doing everything I can and working with others here to come up with a platform that will allow us to reclaim as much of the traditional experience at Washington Lee Law School as all of you benefited from in the past. That is really my update. Unfortunately, I can't take questions. But if you do have specific questions and you want to talk about it, I certainly welcome that conversation as well, and I'll be happy to take those calls and to respond to you. So with that, I'd like to move into the next part of the program that we have, and it gives me the opportunity to introduce one of our fantastic recent graduates, Georgie Pisano-Getz. Typically, we would have a student who has benefited significantly from the alumni support that you all generously provide. We'd have that student provide remarks at our benefactors lunch on the Friday afternoon of alumni weekend. Georgie had agreed to do that. Of course, we had to defer alumni weekend, and so she has videotaped remarks, but I would like to go ahead and provide an introduction. As I mentioned, Georgie, recent graduate of Washington Lee Law School. She was part of that virtual degree conferral ceremony. While she was at Washington Lee Law, she was the recipient of the Robert O. Bentley Scholarship. She hails from Frederick, Maryland, and she graduated from Franklin and Marshall College with a Bachelor of Arts in Government. During her first summer, her summer after her first year of law school, she interned with the policy think tank of Next Gen America in San Francisco, California. And then during her second summer, she interned with the Texas Civil Rights Project in Austin, Texas. Just a few weeks ago, Georgie accepted a clerkship with alumna Pamela White, who is a circuit court judge in Baltimore City, Maryland. And so that's how she will transition into the practice of law. At W&L Law, Georgie was the secretary for the Student Bar Association, which in reading this, I didn't know this before, but that means she helped organize the Sober Driver program for students to get safe rides home from school events. That's very important. She was a semifinalist in the mock trial competition, and she served as a student attorney in the Virginia Capital Case Clearinghouse Clinic. And in connection with her role in that clinic, she represented clients in front of the Virginia Parole Board. That was one area where that clinic expanded the reach of its service to the public, no longer focusing solely on capital defense cases, but actually providing services to really an unserved portion of our society, really, which is for the most part limited to elderly individuals who are seeking parole. That's been a phenomenal development with respect to that clinic at our law school, and Georgie was on the front edge of that new line of work. Georgie also served as a member of the Women's Law Student Organization. In that capacity, she served as a mentor to junior female law students, and she also was a lead editor for the German Law Journal, participated in that journal's transatlantic seminar in Frankfurt, Germany. All around, highly engaged student, but in addition to all the things I just mentioned about her, what is not going to maybe come through on her resume, just a phenomenally positive, upbeat individual that really made our school a better place. So with that, I will turn the video over so you will hear remarks from Georgie. Thank you very much.
Hi, hello. My name is Georgiana Pisano-Getz, and I graduated from the law school last month. I'm a recipient of the Robert O. Bentley Scholarship, and I'm here to tell you how your contributions as alumni have made my experience at W&L possible. I'm going to start with a little bit of a weird story, and that's how I didn't at first want to come to W&L. I've been living in a big city, and I didn't think that moving to a small rural town in Southern Virginia was a continuation of the adventure that I was looking for. But I got into W&L, and I received a really generous scholarship. So I thought, I can do 1 year, and then I can move on. And then I actually got to Lexington. I had been living abroad, so I had not had the chance to visit W&L or visit Lexington or any law schools for that matter. I had this mental image of law school as 3 years of solitude and study and the uninterrupted pursuit of knowledge. I had no idea what to expect when I showed up to orientation. And I can tell you that I showed up with a really bad dye job because that is how much I didn't think my surroundings mattered. I went into my first day of orientation completely unattached, and I left that day completely committed to W&L. I had not known what to expect driving into this small rural town in Virginia, and it was Dean Hellwig's strong repudiation of the Charlottesville riots that had happened just a week or two before, and the unequivocal notion that that was not the community that was present at W&L that sold me. And it helped because Dean Hellwig was not lying about the community. It was the dinner that my small section and I went to at Foothill Mamas, and it was the third-year student that my friends and I met who fell in love with my friend Madison and married her last week. It was the pig roasts that were hot, and it was the pig roasts that were rainy, and the inside jokes from truly awful cold calls that were fodder for humor rather than total devastation. It was not solitude, it was anything but that. It has been 3 years of triumphs and tribulations, and I cannot believe how hard it is now to leave law school. When I was looking into going to law school, every lawyer I talked to told me that law school is the worst part of being a lawyer. If this is the worst part, I am very excited for what comes next. Thank you for making this all possible. Thank you for your support that made my fantastic experience possible, and I know the many fantastic experiences that my peers had possible as well. Thank you for my classmates. So I'll leave you with this fun fact or conspiracy theory that John Denver's Take Me Home Country Roads is actually about Western Virginia, not West Virginia, because the Blue Ridge Mountains are barely in West Virginia. So I hope those country roads bring you and me back to Lexington often and with as many fond memories as I already have of this place.
Thank you, Georgie. Our main order of the Law Alumni Association business today is electing a new slate of officers and members to the Law Council, the governing board of the Law Alumni Association. First, I would like to thank the members retiring from the Law Council this year: Melinda Dunn, 81 Law, Sam Nolan, 79 Law, Brant Phillips, 97 Law, Andy Robeson, 01 Law, and Rick Wolf, 76 Law. Thank you for your dedicated service. The list of nominees for the Law Alumni Association officers and new members are: for President, Bill Mayberry, 91 Law, Charlotte, North Carolina; Vice President, Michael Spencer, 96 Law, Tampa, Florida; Immediate Past President, Meg Campbell, 81 Law, Atlanta, Georgia; Secretary, Suzanne Wade; and the new members: Edward Allen, 87 Law, Fredericksburg, Virginia; Frank Cordell, 91 Law, Seattle, Washington; Mike Hastings, 93L, Roanoke, Virginia; Sarah Powell, 93L, Atlanta, Georgia; Phil Yoon, 04L, Philadelphia; Ashley Everhart Pearson, 06L, Charlotte; Ray Mueller, 12L, Washington, D.C.; Charles Nixon, 12L, Dallas, Texas; and Dan Howe, 13L, Richmond, Virginia. I ask each of you watching now to vote either in favor or in opposition of this slate by following the link on your screen. We will tabulate the votes and return with the results at the end of the program. Vote now. I turn the podium back over to Brant for our alumni awards.
Right. Another fantastic aspect of our alumni weekend is the ability to recognize alumni who have gone above and beyond for the benefit of one another and for the benefit of our school more broadly. So this is a real treat for me to be able to present the awards even remotely. The first one is the Young Volunteer of the Year Award. This is the third year we have presented this award. It's a way for us to recognize those young alumni who go out of their way to assist W&L Law in recruiting students, mentoring students in their career searches, or organizing events that appeal to our younger alumni. I am pleased to present the 2020 award to Katie Wabler of the law class of 2015. A member of our Young Alumni Council, Katie has wholeheartedly accepted the call to assist in our recruitment of prospective students through phone calls, emails, and face-to-face visits. Katie is tireless in her willingness to email, phone, and meet with students who have interest in tax practice, perhaps an interest in pursuing a tax LLM, or have an interest at clerking at the United States Tax Court where Katie is currently working. I should pause for a second and note that I'm pretty sure Katie took every single tax course that was offered at Washington and Lee Law School. She certainly took every class that I offered. And at the time, that was corporate tax and partnership tax in one semester. I'm not sure how it gets any better than that, but she hung in there and did a phenomenal job. And again, just going back to her notes, she has consistently helped students get internships at the United States Tax Court, and even has helped a recent graduate get a full-time postgraduate clerkship with another judge of that court. She is always looking for and letting us know about summer and post-grad opportunities. She reaches out to us. I get emails. Dean Jarrett gets emails from her, putting opportunities on our radar. And she is a point person to champion W&L Law students who are interested in these positions. She has volunteered to conduct mock interviews as well, and I believe she has attended every single admitted student open house weekend that we've had here since she graduated. Of course, those events are fun. They're nice. It's maybe it's not too much of a stretch to hang out, have a drink, speak with prospective students, but she has had to travel significantly to do that. Katie also has served on the reunion committee for her class's fifth-year reunion, which should have occurred this spring, but we're going to defer that slightly until the next year. Katie is currently finishing her second year of a clerkship for Judge Buke of the United States Tax Court. Before that, she practiced law with the firm of Spillman, Thomas, and Battle, first with their Roanoke office and later with that firm's office in Morgantown, West Virginia. Katie received her undergraduate degree from Lewis and Clark and her LLM after attending W&L. She pursued her LLM in tax at the University of Florida. Congratulations, Katie, and thank you for all that you've done. All right, the next award is the Volunteer of the Year Award, and it's a way for us to recognize those individuals who, again, go above and beyond in seeking out ways that they can assist the law school, and oftentimes that is focused on our students. Without volunteers, we couldn't achieve all that we set out to do in a given year, whether it's hosting an alumni event, mentoring a student, serving as a class agent, raising money in honor of your reunion class, or serving on the Law Council, Alumni Board, or the Board of Trustees. Volunteers take this school to the next level. They really allow us to operate in our highest form. Our alumni body might be small, but it is committed. I am delighted to present the 2020 Volunteer of the Year Award to Andy Lee of the law class of 1990. Andy is a partner in the litigation practice group with Jones Walker in New Orleans. He maintains an active national appellate and trial practice focused on business and commercial disputes, corporate securities and banking litigation, and fiduciary and officer liability litigation. As a member of the Corporate Compliance and White Collar Defense Group, Andy also co-chairs his firm's privacy and data security team and holds the CIPP/US designation from the International Association of Privacy Professionals. Over the years, Andy has served on several reunion committees. In fact, the first time I met Andy was, now 5 years ago when I was very new to my administrative role. I can remember dropping in on the class of 1990 reunion dinner, which is being held at TAPS. I think that's right around the time it opened. And that was a real treat to meet him, his classmates in that setting. That was as eager and excited a group as I remember, and it's fun to be part of that event. He currently also serves as a law class agent and as president of the New Orleans alumni chapter. He's a current member of the Law Council, and he's hosted alumni events at his firm, hired numerous students, and I can think of at least one that's clerking at his firm this summer. Thank you very much, Andy. Our final award is the Outstanding Alumni Award, which has been awarded since 2008, the first year that we held Law Reunion on its own weekend. This year, the award goes to John Sicilian of the law class of 1985 for exceptional achievements in his career and service to his community and to his alma mater. John is a founder of 1848 Capital Partners and 1221 Partners, Miami-based private equity firms, where he has managed investments in Heartland Food Corporation, the second largest Burger King franchisee in the world. In addition, he manages investments in Ripley's, believe it or not, Sunbelt Diversified Enterprises, Brazil Tower Company, and Jet Support Services, Inc., the largest independent provider of warranty coverage to the corporate aircraft industry. John currently is the CIO of Juridica Asset Management, a manager of public and private third-party litigation financing funds with over $600 million of assets currently under management. He also serves as the senior advisor to Jetstream Aviation Capital, a manager of private aircraft leasing funds with over $150 million of assets under management. And previously has served on the board of directors of numerous travel and transportation-related companies, both public and private, including Pan American World Airlines, ARINC, Agentware, One Travel, and Eastern Airlines. And he was the chairman, president, and general counsel of the reorganized Eastern Airlines. John began his career as an attorney with Werner Lipfert, Bernhardt, McPherson & Hand, and also with the firm of Ford and Harrison. For W&L, John has served on several reunion committees as a career mentor and as a class agent. He received his Bachelor of Arts magna cum laude from Holy Cross College, and John lives in Miami with his wife, Lisa. Congratulations to Katie, to Andy, to John, to all of our award recipients this year. I'm sorry we're not here to give you the range of gifts that we typically provide. One of them is usually a W&L Law chair, and we get the person to come up and sit in it. We'll do that down the road, but thank you for all that you've done. Congratulations. And at this point, I will turn the floor back over to Elizabeth.
So it's my pleasure to announce the fundraising totals from our reunion classes. As everyone can imagine, this has been a very challenging year to raise money for the law school, and particularly for these reunion classes in light of the COVID advent, which was started about 3 weeks before our Law Alumni Weekend, which we had to postpone. Given this and all the challenges everyone faced, we're really appreciative of the efforts of our reunion volunteers and all that they have done to raise funds for the Law Annual Fund and various scholarship funds. Increasing resources for these two areas, student financial aid and the Law Annual Fund, are our two greatest priorities. I now will read the totals raised for the various classes, starting with the youngest class, the 5th reunion class. The law class of 2015 raised $8,840 for the Law Annual Fund. The 10th reunion class, the class of 2010, raised $3,005 for the Law Annual Fund. The 15th reunion class, the class of 2005, raised $9,670 for the Law Annual Fund. The 20th reunion class, the class of 2000, raised $38,842 for the Law Annual Fund. The 25th reunion class, the class of 95, raised $628,855 for several areas of the law school, including the Law Annual Fund and the Class of '95 Scholarship. The 30th reunion class, the Class of 1990, raised $70,720 for the Law Annual Fund and the Brian W. Robinson 90 Law Scholarship. The scholarship fund was started at their last reunion to memorialize their classmate BW, who died suddenly in 2014. Classmates and family friends have generously contributed to this fund so that BW's legacy will live on in Lewis Hall. I'm proud to announce this scholarship will be awarded for the first time this fall. The 35th reunion class, the Class of 1985, raised $92,871 for the Law Annual Fund, the '85 Law Scholarship Fund, and the Sean Healy Scholarship. The 40th reunion class, the Class of 1980, raised $2,857,695 for the Law Annual Fund, the '80 Law Scholarship Fund, as well as other scholarship funds in existence. The 45th reunion class, the Class of 1975, raised $2,152,535 for the Law Annual Fund and other funds at the law school. Finally, our 50th reunion class, the Law Class of 1970, raised $1,056,118, supporting primarily the Law Annual Fund and the law classes of 1969 and 1970 Robert E.R. Huntley Scholarship. Thanks to the efforts of this class and the Law Class of 1969, which celebrated their 50th reunion last year, the Huntley Law Scholarship will be awarded for the first time this coming fall. Collectively, these reunion classes raised $6,919,151 for the law school. It would be at this point in the program that the reunion volunteers would come forward and present a big check to the dean. And at $6.9 million, I would say that's a really big check. But on behalf of the students and the faculty at W&L Law, I want to thank all the reunion committees and all their classmates who have contributed to the law school. This is a fantastic number. It's great efforts on your behalf, and all of your legacies will live on here in Lewis Hall. It's now time for us to get the results from the voting from earlier today. I appreciate all of you who took the time to cast your vote. And I understand that the results have been tabulated and that the slate was approved. Thank you all for participating. Now it's time for the passing of the baton, or should I say the gavel. Meg, it's your time to pass the gavel. We enjoyed working with you this past year, and we have a token of appreciation which we'll be sending to you in the mail. It's time for you to pass the gavel to incoming President Bill Mayberry.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm delighted to pass this gavel and the presidency to Bill Mayberry. It has been my privilege and my pleasure over the last year to serve as president with such a distinguished group of fine lawyers, fellow alums, who give so generously of their time and their talents. I know Bill will enjoy his tenure at least as much. And now, mindful of the current circumstances and the imperative that we maintain social distancing, I am passing the gavel to you, Bill, from about 245 miles away, with the reminder that you'll do fine as long as you do whatever Elizabeth tells you to do. Good luck.
Meg, I accept this gavel on behalf of Bill Mayberry. Thank you very much. That concludes our official business. Brant, do you have some closing remarks?
Yes, thank you very much, Elizabeth. And just to wrap up, I wanted to thank everybody for making time in their day to watch this. I do very much look forward to our date that we are going to host our formal actual alumni weekend in the spring. That is April 9th through 11th, 2021. It's going to be an epic alumni weekend because we're going to have not only the weekend for the zeros and the fives, but for the sixes and the 11s. So those weekends are always fun. This is going to be certainly one to remember, and I hope that everything works out as we hope, and that we can reconvene just a fantastic gathering of loyal, dedicated alumni in Lexington, in Lewis Hall, in just a few months' time down the road. I'd like to thank Meg for her past service, leadership of the Law Council, and Bill for taking on that critical role. The Law Council really does certainly help me do the best job that I can for the law school in terms of having a group that I can discuss issues with, receive guidance and advice from. So I thank them and every member of the Law Council. And I'd like to thank every member of our alumni base. We simply would not be the school that we are today without the dedication, the loyalty, the financial support that makes a huge difference for us here. There's no way that this small law school operates at the level that we do without the dedicated and loyal support of our alumni base. So that's really how I'd like to close the meeting, to thank you, and also to convey that I hope everybody is navigating the current circumstances as well as possible, that you stay safe, that you stay healthy, and that you stay connected with family and friends as best that you can. So thank you very much for being a part of our event today. Thank you.